first thank to you for coming to at the short notice and coming and come here to share your knowledge. So with that, you can take it over and tell us what you have in
So
store
I have
for
a
us today.
small slide also which I'm going to present to you people, because law is always static and dry. So it is better that we uh, go section by section and then we do this. So I'm sharing my screen. Uh, yes. So can you see the screen, everybody?
Yes, yes, I can. Yeah.
Okay. Uh, I think Gaurav, if you can unmute and hide all videos, it will be great. So the load is there on the slides.
Yeah, I'm doing side by side. So, and also to announce everyone, so we have muted your talk. Raise your hand, or you can put the question in the chat window. I will unmute you.
Okay, so friends, thank you for coming online. Well, in the last 3 6 months, what I have seen is most of the people are misusing the 65B certificate rather than actually using it in the right benefit of the requirement of law. And this is maybe because of lack of understanding of the provision of the law, or maybe they are not understanding the actual essence behind this particular requirement. 65B is actually a section in the Indian Evidence Act. It is required when you are not able to produce a original evidence in the court of law, and when you are giving a secondary evidence, that is, it could be either in the form of a CD, pen drive, printouts, where their servers are not possible to be removed from the cloud and organizations. That's where 65B comes into picture. So firstly, we'll understand what is the provision of 65B section. Then I will give you and show you one practical 65B certificate which I've drafted for one of the CCTV footage requirements. So you will be able to understand as to how this particular section is there and how it is uh, going to be useful for producing secondary evidence. Uh, there was one question from Mehul B says, isn't 65A not covering the primary? Now this I'm talking about electronic evidence and admissibility of electronic evidence only. Let's not confuse about what is 65B and why 65B is. To answer Mehul, I will try to do it at the end of the session. Maybe if it is still not answered during the session, but I will try to see most of the people get the right essence of it. Now, 65B, as I said, it is the Indians Evidence Act section, admissibility of electronic record. Now, why did this section come into picture? There were times when it is practically impossible to get a server like a Bombay Stock Exchange server to the court of law for analysis, because in a millisecond there are trillions of transactions, thousands of transactions happening. So practically it will not be possible, and it's a setup which is so complex that you will not be able to do a forensic of a particular server at that stature in the normal course of action. So what does BSC or any entity which is having multiple data which are getting recorded and logged in the system, they only will give you part information, say maybe a duration of 15 days, 1 month, 6 months, 1 year, 3 years, depending on the requirement of the electronic evidence. And when they are doing so, what they are doing is they are retrieving the data from the archives of the logs, or they are retrieving it from the existing server. So they are actually producing a copy of the secondary evidence, the original evidence. So this is known as secondary evidence. And when they are producing this, the court needs to know that you have not altered this when you have retrieved this. There is no tampering done of this evidence. And if it is so, then only it can be relied upon or it can be considered. Otherwise, it is the question of electronic record is in doubt. So if there is a doubt created, then there is reliability is in question. So 65B is purely from the focus of admissibility of electronic records. It says notwithstanding anything contained in this act, any information contained. So if you read the law, it is very dry. It becomes very, you don't understand it because the language is such. It is in negation. We don't try to understand what is the real meaning. So first I'm going to explain you the section. So it says nothing, notwithstanding anything contained in this act, any information contained in an electronic record, which is printed on a paper, stored, recorded or copied in an optical or magnetic media produced by a computer, hereinafter referred to as a computer output, shall be deemed to be a document if the conditions mentioned in this section are satisfied in relation to the information and computer in question, shall be admissible in any proceedings without further proof or production of the original as evidence of any contents of the original or any facts stated therein of which direct evidence would be admissible. Now, what does this mean? If I follow the procedure of this section, then the document which is generated from this following the procedure will be sufficiently qualifying to be admissible in the court of law without producing the original as evidence. So I don't have the headache of bringing my server from my office or a data center to the court. I can produce the secondary evidence data by 65B and submit in the court of law. That is what this section talks about. There are 4 further parts to it. 65B second subclause 2 says the condition referred to in the subsection 1 in respect of a computer output shall be following. The computer output containing the information was produced by the computer during the period over which the computer was used regularly to store or process information for the purpose of any activity regularly carried on over that period by the person having lawful control over the use. Now, what does this section say? That whenever I produce a evidence which is secondary in nature, that is, I am producing it from original, I have to ensure that there is a existing system which records the evidence in the normal course of work. It is not like because I have to create a evidence, I will set up a new computer and create a evidence there and then I will take printout of that. Because we have seen cases where people do not want to give their original computers and servers, so they create a new server. From that server they copy secondary evidence and then they give 65B. So that will dilute the case because your existing server is there from 5, 6, 7 years, and when you create a new server, it is like a tempering of it because you are trying to generate something which was not existing in the normal due course of work. So this section very clearly says, see, the computer output containing the information was produced by a computer during the period over which the computer was used regularly. Now, this is very important, that the laptop or the system or the server should be regular in use. It should not happen that you are making the system for creating evidence. We have seen cases where people actually create a new system to produce evidence. So that will not suffice. Second, it says any activity regularly carried on over that period by the person having lawful control over the use of the computer. Now, when we make a call, like for example, I dial a call from my phone and I call to Gaurav or anybody from you, and when you call, our respective operators, say I use Jio or Airtel or you use Vodafone or BSNL, they would store these logs that the call was initiated by a person and the call was received by a person. This is automatically stored in the CDR, which is call details record, directly by the switch. It does not intervene. There is no manual intervention here. So if such record is automatically produced during the period since it is used and stored, and when this is taken in a CD or a printout form and submitted in the court of law, 65B will be required to be accompanied by this, because you, in a day there are thousands of calls made. You can't be giving thousands of calls in a normal printout form. Otherwise, there will be shortage of paper. I mean, it would be too many printouts. So what they do is they generate the logs in the CSV or Excel file or a PDF file. They burn it in a CD or a pen drive. Along with that, a 65B certificate is given, and that is submitted in the court of law for CDR to be produced. Second, ISP, same way. Third, your service providers, your banking financial transactions. Now, if a particular account has lakhs of entries, you know, specifically when there is a international money laundering related transactions or multiple financial Ponzi or a pyramid scheme related transaction where there are multi-level marketing involved, multiple bank accounts involved. When you have so many accounts, if you were to take a printout of all these statements, it would be very cumbersome or practically physically difficult for producing all these papers in the court. To ensure that such logs are admissible in the court and produced in the due process of law, this 65B amendment was there, wherein you can take out the logs of this transaction, write it on a CD which is read only, so no further modification can be done, and this CD along with 65B can be given to court so that that can be acceptable. Subsection 2(1)(b), During the said period, information of the kind contained in the electronic record or for the kind form which the information so contained is derived was regularly fed into computer in the ordinary course of said activities. Now this is again very important, that by default system automatically takes and logs it. It should not be where you are manually putting it, otherwise it is a tampering or there is something which is not reliable. There are certain procedures like accounting where you have to manually intervene, but in that case when a manual accountant enters the accounting entry, the reconciliation happens. After that there will be a log or trail that the statements was originally so and so, modified by so and so accountant, and so and so. So those audit trail then play an important role. It should not be that you are deriving something or generating something for the sake of it. It should be automated in a regular course of activity. The third clause says throughout the material part of the said period. So whenever this particular activity or incident happened during that period, the computer should be in a operating condition, that is properly operating. If not, then in respect of any period in which it was not operating properly or was out of operation during that part of the period, was not such as to affect the electronic record or the accuracy of its content. Now what does this mean? Suppose today we are in April 2020. I want a log of November 2019. So when I want a log of November 2019, my computer from where I am taking this log, it should be in the working condition in November 2019. If it gets corrupt today, it is okay. I have no concern with that. But when my log was supposed to be retrieved from the server, it was supposed to be in a working condition at that point in time. So there was no issue of generating the electronic record from the system, and the accuracy is also maintained. There is no tampering. If my duration in which the log is required is different and the system was not working in that condition during that time, then the reliability of this evidence becomes a question mark. So as I said, if you're generating a new system, suppose you are wanting a log of November 2019, a person to give a 65B certificate, they set up a new server in January 2020, and from that machine they give you the log. So they will have to document as to why that system was configured in January 2020. Was it because of the workload, overload, failure of the hard disk, or a backup or a upgradation? That chain of custody has to be maintained. If not, then the evidence which is taken in April 2020 from the server which is set up in January, the data which is of November 19 is in question. So this provision talks about that the system from where you are taking the logs should be in a working condition when you are trying to recover the data or retrieve the data from it. The last fourth one is the information contained in the electronic record reproduces or is derived from such information fed into the computer in the ordinary course of said activities. Like for example, already there is a log, there is a database which contains all the field. We are just retrieving it on the display to see. We are not recreating it. There is a difference between reproduce and recreate. Reproduce means you are trying to show something which already exists, and recreate means you are creating something which does not exist or which is created from something which is already existing. So here the focus is on the electronic record that is reproduced or derived from information which is already in the computer fed in the normal set activities. So this is one of the other important provisions which is there. Then in any proceedings, so any court proceedings where it is desired to give a statement in evidence by virtue of this section, a certificate doing any of the following thing, that is to say, now this is very important because this becomes the part of your certificate. The first three provisions what we saw, the 2, 1, B, C, gives the rationale, the base for which the evidence will be created and generated or reproduced. And subsection 65B4, this talks about what should be the content of your certificate. So it says A, identifying the electronic record containing the statement and describing the manner in which it was produced. Now say for example, you want to take a CCTV recording which is important for a particular crime offense and you have to produce this as a evidence. So in this case, when we relate to the CCTV, there is a DVR which records the CCTV footage. Now every DVR has certain limitation. Some of them are for 7 days, some of them are for 15 days, some of them are for 1 month, some of them are for 1 day, depending on the volume, size and compliance requirement. Ideally, it should be that the CCTV should be storing the data for at least 15 days, if not less or more, because 15 days is a reasonable time to identify something unusual physically. Otherwise, if once it gets overwritten, then there is no evidence left. So in this case, identifying the electronic record containing the statement and describing the manner which was produced. So here our DVR becomes the electronic record source from where we are going to take the CCTV footage. Second, giving such particulars of any device involved in the production of that electronic record as may be appropriate for the purpose of showing that the electronic record was produced by a computer. Now this is very important because you have to name the software or the tool that are used by you to generate the log from the database or evidence which is going to be displayed. You cannot just say that I have run my software from my backend, I got this log and this is my evidence. You have to accept, because that does not give authenticity, credibility as to what was the name of the tool, what was the server where it was hosted, how was it retrieved. So all this documentary procedure plays important role. Whenever you have to produce this, you have to give a detailed particular about the device involved, the tool involved, and how it was produced using these tools and the device. 65B4 subsection C, dealing with any of the matters to which the condition mentioned in subsection 2 relate and purporting to be signed by a person occupying a responsible official position in relation to the operation of the relevant device or the management of the relevant activities, whichever is appropriate, shall be evidence of any matter stated in the certificate. Now here this is very, very important. Most of the times the question, when we go on the corporate domain, they ask us whether the CISO will give, the IT admin will give, the network admin will give, or legal will give, or compliance will give, or GRC or audit. Who will give the certificate? Who will be the signing authority for this certificate? So most of the companies have something called as IT asset inventory or IT asset register. You also have a access control list, ACL, which mentions about which person has which role in the organization and what is he supposed to do. So the person who is responsible for preserving these logs and the server, the system administrator, that person will be relevant and responsible for signing the certificate, because he is the one who is going to run the queries on the database. He is the one who is going to get the output displayed on the screen. He is the one who's going to convert that into a CD or a PDF file and then give it to the code. So the system admin plays a very important role when it comes to this. If you are an individual, then in that case, the individual is responsible. If it is a finance related data, then the finance CFO plays an important role. If it is related to data or the logs of the web, then the application or a webmaster who is the concern of that particular company is responsible for giving this certificate. So any Tom, Dick and Harry cannot give this certificate. So that is what about the certificate signing authority talks about. If the person who, suppose there is a person who was working with me from November 19 to February 19, during that he had given 65B, but now he is no more with the company. That doesn't mean that you have to change the name and the new person will come. During that period of time, and whoever is employed, whoever is responsible, that person has to give the certificate and sign it. It cannot be that because he is leaving the company, somebody else is joined his position, he will sign it, because that is not a right person. He may not know what is the procedure going behind this. If there is a team which is responsible, say 4 or 5 people team is doing it, then the reporting manager of that team should be the signing authority, because they should be able to, in the end of the day, if required in the code, tell the code that okay, this is the way the evidence is stored, preserved, this is the way we retrieved it, regenerated it from the database, and we are now displaying it for your reference. So there should be no element of ambiguity or unreasonableness there, and a doubt created for people regarding this. The last part says, for the purpose of this subsection, it shall be sufficient for a matter to be stated to the best of the knowledge and belief of the person stating it. So this is generally the last declaration, self-affirmation statement, that the above statement is to the best of my knowledge true, and I believe it to be true. That's how you are going to give this certificate. There is a question which says, is certificate mandatory? Can I just take questions at the last, because I'll finish the flow. It's we have half an hour more, so in the next 10 minutes I'll clear the presentation and then I'll answer all your questions. Okay, so Preet, I will answer your question at the end of the session. So this is how it is. Then for the purpose of this section, information shall be taken to be supplied to a computer if it is supplied there to into appropriate form, and whether it is so supplied directly with or without human intervention. Now, what does this mean? It means that the system should automatically have a mechanism to record logs and nobody should be able to alter, temper it. B, whether in the course of activities carried on by any official, information is supplied with the view to being stored or processed for the purpose of those activity by a computer operated otherwise, then in the course of those activity, the information, if duly supplied to their computer, shall be taken to be supplied to it in the course of those activity. Now, this is basically telling you that whenever a particular system works and operates, like for example, this Zoom recording or Zoom session, as we speak, as I speak from here, you people are listening, this is an automated process. It gets logged with the Zoom ID, meeting ID on the Zoom server. So by default, this is a activity which is being happening without any human intervention. We can only stop it at the end of it, or we can stop it midway, but whatever has been done during this period will be unaltered, unedited. So this is a computer operated mechanism where we have nothing. It is, the flow is already in sync. C, a computer output shall be taken to have been produced by a computer, whether it was produced by it directly or with or without human intervention by means of any appropriate equipment. Now, this is again that the tools which you use, you have to mention those software tools so that it is that there is no human intervention or tampering done. For the purpose of this section, any reference of information being derived from other information shall be a reference to it being derived therefrom by calculation, comparison, or any other process. Now, this refers to hash calculation and hash value and the importance of hash value. Now, electronic record is defined under the IT Act, which is a data or record or data generated, image or sound stored, received or sent in an electronic form or microfilm or computer generated microfiche. Microfiche is a card made of transparent film, so and so. What does this mean? It means that if things mentioned in the definition, that is data, record, data generated, image, sound, either store, receive or send. So these three are very key things: the storing of the data, receiving of data, and sending of data in an electronic form. Then it is electronic record. So the most important consideration is if it has to be stored, it has to be received or sent, and electronic form. Otherwise, it does not classify or it is not the subject question of dispute. So for a 65B certificate to be prepared, your electronic record should be stored, received or sent in the electronic form. Then only 65B is required. Suppose I get a physical paper that I scan and then I send it. It is not a computer generated output because it's a physical document that is scanned for convenience. So 65B is not required for that because original document will itself speak for itself. Only when the system generates something, that is storing directly happens, receiving happens directly, or sending in an electronic form. A PDF file generated through Adobe PDF, emailed through online means, digitally signed by the sender or the recipient, then 65B is required. But physical document which you scan and you send, 65B is not required for that. So electronic form, again, it is defined in the IT Act. It says electronic form with reference to information means any information generated, sent, received or stored in media, magnetic, optical, computer memory, microfilm, computer generated microfiche or similar device. So basically this talks about computer generated, automated storing, receiving and sending and receiving of electronic data. To conclude and summarize, on the basis of the information and definition, if information is stored, sent or received in electronic form, then it is electronic record, otherwise it is not electronic record. When the certification under 65B is required, so when a document stored, received or sent must be in electronic form, it must be accessible so as to be usable for a subsequent reference. That means tomorrow you have to refer it and required to be referred in a case, then 65B certification is required. It is to be given by a person who is in charge of that particular operation. And when it is not required, if the information is not stored, received or sent in electronic form, certification is not required. Who can give 65B certificate or who cannot give? Firstly, we have to see. So cyber forensic examiner, cyber forensic analysis guy, analyst, cyber investigator, a person who does not own storage device. These people cannot give 65B certificate. Unfortunately, there's a wrong practice which is going in the industry where a person who does imaging gives 65B, a person who does analysis gives 65B. If you see the definition of this law of 65B, all these conditions in respect of computer output, automatically stored, regular fed, there is nothing which is done by the examiner or forensic analyst. It is already there in the evidence in the secondary storage device. So analyst can give an analysis report, but not a 65B certificate report, because 65B is about retrieving the data from the original primary storage device to a secondary medium, because it is not possible for the original to be submitted in the court of law. So one does not own the device or data is not produced in a normal course of procedure, then 65B cannot be given by that person. So most of the cases, in the court, when they come and the person who is not authorized to give 65B, because they give 65B, the entire procedure and efforts are wasted, and time, money, everything is at toss. So who can give 65B? IT manager, system administrator, nodal officer, compliance, legal, grievance officer, depending on requirement under the GDPR or Data Protection Authority. Individual complainants. Suppose if you take a screenshot on your phone, now to get that screenshot on the phone to be produced as evidence, there is a procedure which you need to follow. Then any person who is managing or archiving, storing, or receiving electronic record, the database administrator also are part of this. So these are the people who can give 65B certificate. Thank you for the listening. I'm going to now show you the draft of 65B for a CCTV footage. After that, I'm going to answer all your questions. One second, I'll again share the screen by opening the Word document of it first, so that you get to know how and what is the 65B, how it looks, what are the contents of it. Share. Okay. So this has to be on the letterhead. It should not be on the stamp paper, or it should not be notarized. The notarized document is only required if you are you are giving some document which is supposed to be used in other state or other location where you can physically not travel. Then wherever you reside, suppose I am a company based out of Bombay, my head office is in Bombay, my logs are generated in Bombay, but my matter is going on in Kolkata or Delhi. So in this case, I will produce the 65B certificate in Bombay. I will notarize it here, and then I will send it through courier through my advocate to be present in the court of law, so that physically I don't travel. If I physically travel there, I don't have to notarize the document. So that is, notary is not required, stamp paper is not required. It could be on paper, letterhead, personal letterhead, legal paper, a white paper of A4 size is okay. There is no, people always create confusion and misguide. This should be on a stamp paper of 100 rupees. It should be on indemnified. You should notarize it. No, it does not require that. It says I so and so designation and resident of so and so India, having so and so office address, certify as under. What do I certify? That I manage the CCTV system of this company, and my job responsibility include maintaining, troubleshooting, and overlook the operation of CCTV on account of the contract between the company and our company. So a CCTV vendor is there who is going to do this. It is outsourced operation. If you have an in-house team, then the in-house team will come. This will not be applicable. I say that I was called on so and so date to take backup of CCTV footage on the date so and so. I say that the video of the above dates were retrieved from DVR model, because from where did the CCTV come, and copied on the pen drive, serial number so and so, capacity so and so by me, or CD if it is CD. I say that as per the procedure, by using the software, I copied the CCTV. So which software was used to copy the CCTV recording also should be mentioned here for the above dates. Then the DVR was used to take the copy of CCTV in the pen drive, was regularly used for recording the premise in working condition. The capacity of the said DVR is 7 days. See, here he is saying that the DVR has a capacity of 7 days, and the same were working normal and in working condition, and I have taken the copies on the recording on so and so date. Now, if this 7 days does not coincide with the date of the recording of the video, then this evidence is not reliable, and the certificate also is of question. So that should be taken into account. Proper date and time should be mentioned. I have the access to the system under the contractual obligation in the normal course of business. So here the vendor, there is an agreement between the company and he is a responsible person to deploy the client side. He says that I manage, if you see here, he says my responsibility is maintaining, troubleshooting and overlooking the operations. So that's why he's able to do that. I say that the pen drive has the dump of the video from CCTV for the date so and so to so and so. I say that during the period over which the above mentioned procedure was followed and CCTV was copied on the pen drive, I had lawfully access and control for the maintenance troubleshooting of the state system and the DVR, because the DVR access password is with the company owner as well as the troubleshooter, the vendor. I say that throughout the given period over which the above mentioned procedure was followed, the DVR was working. So if you see the section now, it was said that the system should be in a working condition. So that is again mentioned here. I confirm that the contents in the pen drive capacity so and so CD are not changed by me or tempered, and are copies of the original from the DVR device. The hash value, so now this is very important. All the videos that are taken, dump, you have to file name which is automatically generated by the system should be there, and the MD5 of that file should be calculated here. You don't have to give a customized name, because if you give a customized name, that is tempering, because every system has a auto naming feature or functionality. If that is configured accordingly, the name should be here, the MD5 should be mentioned. The hash value of the video recording is created using which software, so MD5, FTK, ENCase Imager, whatever software you use, you have to mention that here. Then this is the statement: I do certify that the above content is true and correct to the best of my knowledge and I believe it to be same. Yours truly, and you sign it. So this is a 65B certificate for a CCTV footage based on the 65B provisions of the Evidence Act. Now we will take question answers, whatever questions are asked here, which I will take. So let us start from Preet. I think Preet had asked the first question, right? Can you hear me? Okay, one second. I think your microphone. Okay. Okay, Mehul says, isn't 65A not covering the primary? Now, 65A is again, if there is a primary evidence, like for example, if my phone is the original evidence and I submit the phone to the authority, then I don't have to even give 65B or 65A because it's the primary evidence. 65B is only when I'm not able to give the original evidence and I generate a copy from the original evidence, then I have to give 65B certificate. Please make these layman terms for new beginners. Okay. No issue. 60 mandatory in case of, okay, so there's a question from Preet. Is 65B mandatory in all cases of electronic record? When you are not the creator or a producer of a document, then you are not supposed to give 65B. There's a Supreme Court judgment on that. That means suppose you are I send an email to you, you are a recipient of the email. I am the producer of the email. So when you take the printout of this email, you don't have to give a 65B certificate because you are a recipient of it. But if you reply to that email, then the email that is replied, the sent item of that email, you have to give 65B for that. Audio not okay. 65B deals only with admissibility. What about the authenticity of a particular evidence? So there are two aspects to this. Admissibility means whether the electronic record that is generated from the logs, whether it will be admissible in the court of law or not, is the question which 65B deals with. Authenticity and integrity will come when you follow the procedure. Like for example, when you do hash value calculation, you are calculating the integrity of the evidence, non-tempering of it. So authenticity is not dealt here, but if you see section 4 of the IT Act, that deals with the authenticity of the electronic records. One of my friend was to receive his coaching tuition fees. The notes were taken by the student on her iPad instead of physical notebook. I have no access to it. The notes were handwritten by the student and were saved in my file friend's Dropbox cloud. How do I get this admitted as evidence? Very interesting. This is actually a professional service, but still, lockdown moment, so free advice given. Okay, I'll again repeat. So whenever such kind of thing happens, when you are taking the physical notes in the iPad, there would be some linkage which would have auto emailed the content to the user in the email ID. So you have to give the printout of that email ID, and in that give a 65B that this was stored using the iPad, and the pen was used, Apple pen was used to write it, which got converted into an email and got saved on the Dropbox. You have to give the PDF files of the Dropbox screen as well as the file which is there on the inbox or email if it is linked. And once you give this printouts of email, along with that, you give 65B certificate, then it can be admissible. Can an organization who provides service of data storage like can provide? So data service, so all the cloud server data storage, they have to give 65B because their servers are maintained by them and then the contractual obligation by the vendor. So that will govern. So your 65B certification by the cloud service provider, or for that matter any vendor who is going to give you this data storage service, is required depending on the contractual obligation and who is in charge, whether they are hired for giving you this service or the job is only to store the data and maintenance is done by yourself. So Shinaj, if the question is, if you are giving only the contract to store data and nothing like it, then the 65 will be restricted to only data storage. They will not tell you what data was stored, how it was stored, only the data was stored. But the person from your organization who manages this, he will have to give 65B certificate. Ramesh asks timeline for submitting 65B certificate. So there is no timeline, there is no expiry date. You can either give during the initiation of the evidence when it is collected, or when the trial or when the court matter is there, you have to give. But you have to always remember that the date and time of chronology is maintained in the certificate. So it is always better that whenever you retrieve the logs or the secondary evidence, you prepare 65B that time only, so that the date time is recorded. You don't have to remember when it was created, who created, how it was generated and stuff. I mean organizations like Iron Mountain. So if it is Iron Mountain, Control S, Amazon Web Service, whatever the companies are, if your contractual obligation mentions them that they have to do all the retrieving, archiving and storing, then the 65B will be required from them as well as you. I'll give you a classic example. What had happened in one of our cases, my client had sent me emails. Now they didn't have a printout at their office or home. They were individual clients. So I suggested them to convert all their emails from their send copy and inbox copy in a PDF format and send me the zip file of the entire PDF communication. That zip file came to me in my inbox. Then I downloaded that, I unzipped it, then I took printout. So for this I had to give 265B certificate. 165B was given for them to generate that PDF email, zip and email to me. And second, for myself, that I received this email from my client using their email ID. I downloaded that using so and so software, I unzipped it using so and so software, and then I took printout using my printer model so and so, and now I'm producing this document. So both 65B were required for that procedure because original sender didn't have printer. There's a question from Vignesh: information stored, received or sent in electronic form is called electronic record. This statement doesn't mention anything particular about how the data was generated. Can you please clarify example regarding the scanned copy of a in a paper form? It can be stored electronic form, send, receive in electronic form, but the record is generated non-electronic as it is a paper. Isn't the definition a little ambiguous? So Vignesh, I will take this question at the last because this requires two different perspectives in it. In CCTV case, it is required to maintain original hard disk till the final hearing of the case if defendant asks for original. Well, ideally you should do an image of the original DVR if possible, and then take and simultaneously take evidence of it, because DVR has a limitation. If it is very critical case of murder and other stuff, then you may require to take a new DVR for the new operation and let that DVR be preserved originally. What will be the format when it is a screenshot taken from a client's phone? Very interesting, Saket. So when it is from a client's phone, client has to give, because he is the one who is the owner of the phone. He has taken the screenshot using the phone model number, the serial number of the phone. Then how did he send you? Whether he sent you through WhatsApp or through email. So depending on the way in which the data is sent, those the 65 will be vary. What is the best time to file this certificate, Aarti Bhalla, if we have not filed at the first place? I suggest my clients, when the complaint is being filed for FIR registration, that time only they should file it. Or if the court proceeding is supposed to be submitted, there is a stage called affidavit of evidence and list of documents. So during that time only the 65B should be filed. Mansha Bhatia says, what is the applicability to WhatsApp message and document received over WhatsApp? So for WhatsApp, you may be aware that each WhatsApp has an email ID linked to that. So you will have to export the chat, email to yourself, and then take the printout and then make a 65B out of it. Arpit, highest value certificate can be given by cybercrime investigator. So there is nothing that the law recognizes as a cybercrime investigator. whoever individual who is handling the data using the software, he just has to say that I use so and so software. I put the soft files or PDF files in the software, and this is the hash which is calculated by the software. Because the MD5 of each data is unique, any MD5 software you use, you will get the same hash value of the data if it is not tampered with. Is 65B certificate along with electronic record which is filed with all document evidence, and if not filed, can it be filed later? Yes, Rushabh Thakur, it can be filed later also. There are cases where after the time of charge sheet, even after charge sheet, at the time of trial, 65B is filed and submitted by the authorities, and the court does accept it. Will the micro SD card attached to a phone or camera in which click photos are always stored along the primary evidence of the photo, or I need to also adduce the phone or camera in question? So Preet, if the micro SD, there is setting that the direct photo is captured on the SD card, better you give the SD card, that becomes the primary evidence, then no 65B is required. But if there is a, the photo was originally taken by the camera in the internal memory, then that was copied in the micro SD card, then it becomes a secondary device. Then you will require 65B certificate when you do that operation. Shinji Kalwar, thanks Vicky. What is the role to financial record in electronic form? So Prasad, the 65B, there is a Banker Book Evidence Act amendment also done. But if the email which you get, no, that this is a document generated by computer, does not require signature, that is not acceptable. It has to be either digitally signed, or the printout has to be rubber stamp and an initial by the branch manager or the authority has to give you. Then only that financial record becomes admissible in the court of law. It should be digitally signed, and if it is emailed to you, then it is fine. But if it is not digitally signed, then no. Then the question is, Mehul, what about the half-truth data? What does this mean? Half-truth data submitted. Please clarify this question. I am not able to understand. What about half-truth data? Mehul Doshi. Okay, Penal is asking, in case there is theft in society and the society cannot produce the CCTV audio footage, then is CCTV necessary? If yes, so who can issue? So your society would have hired some vendor to maintain CCTV, so they will be giving it. If not, then any of the office bearer, ideally the secretary or the chairman, should give 65B, because they are the caretakers of your society. And 65B now depends whether you are recording from your mobile phone the footage on the screen, or you are copying the CCTV footage from the DVR in the pen drive or CD. If it is copied from the phone, then the person who is capturing it from the phone will have to give 65B. KR Krishna Kumar, my evidence is in micro SD which I can give. I don't want to give my phone. Is this possible? Yes, it is absolutely possible. Then in that case, what happens is you have to document that the photograph or evidence which was there when the phone was used was directly captured and stored in micro SD without being stored in the internal memory. Then this is allowed and possible. There was a private question asked. Okay, just a second. So there are some more questions which I need to. Where I was. Okay. Creating an image copy from DVR is not possible always, as DVR file format is different and cannot be produced in the code without exporting. What can be done in this case? So because this is the technical difficulty, you'll have to document this procedure as to what make and model of DVR is, what software it is using, and accordingly that can be documented in the certificate, and it will be accepted in the court of law. When a complaint is filed for defamation on the basis of message received on a video received on a WhatsApp, same is annexed in complaint as CD. Is it? Yes, it is. Nipa Gupta, it is absolutely necessary, because video source, origination, receipt of it has to be clearly documented in the certificate. How is it found out whether or not evidence given is legit, forged or not? Now this is a subject of cross-examination and forensic analysis report. Maybe we can do someday topic on art of cross-examination, Pranay, to answer that. Great, nice crowd. What? Saket Bisani. When we send a legal notice on WhatsApp, how do we show the service of notice? So Saket, only few courts are accepting the service of notice through WhatsApp. I would suggest you to use email applications that give you the service of read receipts and use digital signatures to send email for the notice. If the person has already responded to you and replied to you with that email ID previously, then the service is deemed to be served, because already there were some communication or correspondence. So there are other precedents and case laws on that. Arpit Doshi, thanks Vicky for great session. Thank you Vicky for there was a crisp and interesting session. Okay, copy of video image which is manipulated and again stored in a phone be used as a source. Now see, this is something which is like tampering. CFC 01064 Sachin. Could a copy of video image which is manipulated and again stored in a phone be used as a source? Now, there is a lacuna in this 65B. It does not go about how it was manipulated, how it was stored. It is only talking about retrieving it from the original primary evidence in the secondary form. This manipulation part will be forensic analysis, which will be done by the state forensic lab or the authorized government entity. And in that, if it is found, then the entire evidence admissibility can be challenged. Panash is asking, can we weak 65B make the evidence value document weak? Yes, it depends. If you're not able to document and produce how the data was generated and produced by you as a 65B signing authority, then the credibility of the evidence is in question, which can create doubt in the court. And then courts are always softer because they follow a principle that even if 1,000 known persons who have been responsible for doing something wrong are free, but not a single innocent person should be punished. So under that unreasonable or reasonably beyond doubt principle, it can be considered, cannot be considered, depends. Can an objection be taken if it is not as per format? No, there cannot be objection for the format as far as the contents and the nature of producing the electronic record is documented. It is okay. There is no standard format. People have made a market out of it. You get 65B for 3,000 rupees, you get it for 25,000 rupees, depending upon what all and what not. So it purely depends on how it is and what it is. So yes, it depends. Okay, now let me answer the question which I said I will answer last because of the complexity, because I think we are running out of time. 7-8 minutes are left. So whose question was that which I said I will? Okay, this was Vignesh's question. Information which is stored, received or sent in electronic form is considered electronic record. This statement does not mention anything about how the data was generated. So can you please clarify your example regarding the scanned copy of a physical document in a paper form? It can be stored in electronic form, sent, received in electronic form, but the record is generated not electronically as it is a paper document. Isn't the definition of electronic a little ambiguous? See, the electronic, like for example, when you type a document, you are using the computer to type the document. So that means that you are using computer to create the document. You are generating the document, but that doesn't mean that you will require 65B to give that. You are using computer in this case only for convenience to type it out and not write through your hand. Earlier you had typewriters, so you used to type. Now you have computers, so you are able to type it. So when you are creating a application or a document which is for convenience, it doesn't require 65B. Now in this particular example, when I say physical document, so a document, physical document is already generated through a computer output. There is some file which is electronically already existing in the system. The printout has been taken. Now that printout has some signature or some information which is supposed to be used for evidence purpose. Now in this case, the document itself, because it's a hard copy, the physical document itself becomes a best evidence. But when you scan it, it's a copy of a physical document. 65B is for electronic record and in the electronic form, not a physical form in an electronic form. So that's why it is not ambiguous. It is different. It is, both are different. They are not same. Okay. It was a uniform sir and power team. Bishop Aarti, thank you, Vicky. Very. So any further questions anybody has? I think, or if Gaurav, you can unmute and ask them to raise hand and speak if they want to talk instead of chatting.
Yes, Vicky, we can do that. If anyone
Do that
raise
for
the
the
hand,
5
we can
minutes.
unmute. Yeah. So anyone, I think there are two people who have already raised the hand. So Mehul, I'm unmuting you. And after that, unlicensed room. Wow. Yeah, Mehul,
Uh,
go ahead.
Hi, Vicky. Basically, what I meant to seek clarification on half-truth data was that when 65B data is being presented in one of our cases as a certificate, But that data, because being the size of data getting generated every day was so high, they gave half-truth data. When I say half-truth data, they filtered out saying that they have taken it out from the server and all the data were submitted were true. So we are not saying no to that, but they did not give the metadata of what they have filtered out while taking it out.
So metadata is an aspect of forensics and not of 65B.
I get it. What I'm trying to convey over here is in 65B, a lot of data which is presented by the the certificate giver as well as the whole thing is given in a form of half true data. Okay, when I say half true data, is like they only represent the data in which it makes their case acceptable of the data relevance from their side, but not the data which is relevant for the case to have a legal conscious between the two parties.
So see, this is like, convenient data which is given only.
Convenient data. I
it's
call
a
it as half truth or convenient data.
Yeah, it is a convenient data, not half truth, because there is nothing. Truth is absolute truth or nothing. There cannot be half truth, partial truth, or So, anyways, coming to your thing now, firstly, how do you know that this is a data which is hidden by them? Is there a copy existing which is available with you to counter that claim first? If so, then a forensic analysis can be ordered by the court in the forensic lab, certified by the state or central. And then the data which is supposed to be generated, the entire logs will be generated, not the partial logs. So that is how you can address this. This is more of a specific, maybe you can do one-to-one. I will give you my context because this will create confusion among others. This is a specific case for your case. I will help you with it if you want, no issues with that. But in this case, half truth does not permit any so as I said again, electronic data which is generated from the computer. Now, if the person who is giving 65B conceals it, then there could be a case of perjury and a false representation against the person who gives this half data, because it is giving incomplete data. It is not giving exact output which is produced. It is giving only the partial or the convenient data which is in the favor of the person and not otherwise. Okay.
True.
So that way.
So in that case, does the person giving the 65B certificate responsibility is not like in case of your CCTV recording? You said data was generated using this way. Can't they put up the preview that they did this filter?
They have to do that. That's what I'm saying. 65B, they have to. If they don't do, then it is in question. You can say this is not reliable because it is incomplete. And this is how it should be. So you have to give the court that particular perspective as to how it can be made acceptable. Just by saying it is rejected, objectionable, it will not suffice. You have to then show how it can be done also.
Okay, but the primary data lies with the.
Mehul, I will talk to you one-to-one, please.
Okay, done. Got it. Yeah.
Please appreciate respect.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Unlicensed room. I am unmuting you.
Who is this unlicensed room?
I have no clue.
He's gone. He's still there. Lower hand.
Yeah, I have. Okay, actually,
Let somebody else. Is there any other question? I think one hand was there. I could see. Good. I didn't expect 70, to be honest, people attending this session. I thought 30, 40 people would be there, but it's interesting to see good audience. I hope I hope I did some good justice for you.
Yes, definitely, Vicky. And we have now extended our license because to up to 600 people.
Achha, very good.
So in the morning, I had 180 plus, and I think till now maximum we have achieved around 240. So wow. 70 I was expecting. Yeah.
Good. So there is this question, last question from I think KR Krishna Kumar, which says, if 65 signatory has left the company and the study is found incorrect, who is responsible? Very interesting. So when the 65B has been given by the person, the signing person has the responsibility of it, not the company. So the employee in that role, there will be one question here which is about due diligence by the company. So what was the due diligence taken by the company to ensure that the person who did his job was right? So you have to demonstrate that. If you are able to demonstrate, then the liability is only of that employee who left the company, or company is also vicariously liable depending on case to case. to be honest. Okay. Lots of takeaway from today. Thank you, SW. Can I ask one question? What's the rate to one of my DV case? Please take professional advice, madam or sir. I am attending the first session. Please share details of all session. Thank you, Vicky, sir. Sir, everybody, sir, and brothers and sisters. Have a nice week and enjoy the lockdown with your family. Bye. Thank you. Gaurav, I am done with my.
Thank you, Vicky. Yeah, thanks, Vicky. It was an amazing session, full of knowledge, full of questions, and we have made it quite interactive. Thank you, and
Okay.
have a nice day, nice evening. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.